and welcome back to another edition of Spotlight on Newcastle County, which features news both within and without Newcastle County, Delaware. I'm your host, Melody Kitchen, along with co-host Tony Prado. You never know who we're going to talk to or where we're going to visit. Today, we're putting the spotlight on County Executive Thomas P. Gordon for receiving the Andrew Turner Award from Housing Opportunities of Northern Delaware, and Councilman Penrose Hollins, a big advocate of fair housing. Thank you both for being here today.
Yes, thank you everyone for being here, County Executive Gordon and Councilman Hollins. So we are putting the spotlight on you today, sir, County Executive Gordon. You are getting this tremendous award from Housing Opportunities of Northern Delaware, otherwise known as HOND. And this is related to the 33rd Annual Fair Housing Observance and Awards Luncheon. And let me just ask you first, was the award a surprise to you?
Yeah, it was a surprise. I just learned about it yesterday that the award was going to be presented to me. But you know, as executive, I rely on a whole lot of people. And when it comes to fair housing, I have in my arsenal the #1 person in the state who's to my right. And generally what happens is I'll have a discussion with Penrose about, he's always pushing the agenda about fair housing. It's something that he has done his entire life. And generally it'll be his ordinance, his suggestion, and his knowledge that I ride along with. And so I don't want anyone to give me the total credit for this, other than knowing the right person to get involved. And I would like to introduce you to the person who has spent 25 years.
Yes.
And we could talk about so many different things that we did in 25 years together, trying to get home ownership, trying to give everybody their dream of owning a home. And so I would think your next question would be to the person to my right.
and I feel like Pontius Pilate, who famously asked, what is truth? So let me ask you, Councilman Hollins, you're the expert here. What is fair housing? What is the truth about fair housing? People confuse it with workforce housing, and that's the taboo term, right?
It was a term that got confusing. It was a good theory, but it got abused.
Right.
Fair housing is really a percentage of your income to provide for decent housing. It's that simple. In Newcastle County, it is our goal to provide for a diverse housing stock to meet the needs of all of our residents throughout their lives, from first-time home buyers to seniors. We also want to address the homeless population, the low-income population. So essentially, fair housing could be different depending upon your income. So the real concern is that if any family is spending more than 30% of their income for housing needs, then they are housing challenged. Of course, if you're making $200,000 or $300,000 a year, you can afford more than someone who's making $30,000 a year. So it's all very proportional. As a government, we try to make certain that we are providing housing opportunities for all families throughout Newcastle County at every stage of their lives. So we have people here that are homeless. We focus on a lot of the veterans who are homeless. We focus on folk who are low income through our Housing Trust Fund. So we have a variety of housing initiatives to try to address the housing needs of the entire population. And the county executive has been very kind to me to say that I'm pretty much the person, the driver here, but obviously no member of the county council could make this happen without a strong county executive with the same principles in providing the technical assistance that we need and providing the leadership from the very top. And County Executive Gordon has done that for the county council and for me, and is very deserving of this award.
Absolutely. I also did want to ask, what is Newcastle County government's relationship with HOND? How do you interact with them?
We support HOND. HOND's mission is to provide for fair housing. Mm-hmm. You cannot have affordable housing without fair housing, so there's a marriage between fair housing and affordable housing. Our role in county government is to have that agency to try to make certain in Newcastle County that, and other jurisdictions as well, that there is fair housing. Fair housing is enforced by the U.S. Department of Civil Rights, and HOND is an agency here on the ground. There are a few other agencies here in Delaware that tries to assure fair housing. Affordable housing is where we focus most of our attention as a government and try to provide affordable housing to all of our residents. And most recently, the legislation that was adopted by County Council was a piece of legislation we call moderately priced dwelling units. It's for moderate income families in Newcastle County to help them become homeowners. Also with that legislation, we also adopted the Housing Trust Fund, which is designed to help low-income families. So we're trying to provide housing opportunities throughout Newcastle County for every segment of our county, and that is why we have such a diverse program to address affordable housing and fair housing here in Newcastle County.
Sure.
And speaking of that legislation, Councilman, you know, County Executive Gordon, Councilman Hollins, you gentlemen, correct me if I'm wrong, worked together on that legislation. I mean, it was something important to both of you. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, we worked together. We slaved together, probably a better term. We spent an awful lot of time, an awful lot of meetings with an awful lot of stakeholders trying to make certain that we had buy-in to the program. It's a major program. It's one of the few programs in this region where when you come forth for a rezoning, you are required to provide for a percentage of affordability. The housing challenges that we faced are not unusual throughout this country, but I think that we're on the cutting edge with the legislation that we have adopted here in Newcastle County. We're very proud of that, and I think that's one of the reasons why the county executive has been awarded this award and recognized by HOND, because I think people who are in the housing business recognizes that we are in fact on the cutting edge of affordability and fair housing. It's recognized by the State Planning Commission, it's recognized by the agencies that make certain that fair housing is in fact the order of the day. Newcastle County is also a housing agency. We received over $22 million annually from HUD to provide for housing opportunities for the homeless, for the low income, and for seniors. We have about 1,600 families that are Section 8 clients in Newcastle County. Those families, we receive about $16 million annually for those families alone. That's another segment of the population here in Newcastle County that we provide for. And with the money that we receive from HUD, we are expected to provide for housing opportunities for all of our citizens, and that's what we endeavor to do.
And he does a fabulous job. We have a great department of community services, Sophia Hansen, and her staff over there. And they work very closely with the council person, so that we do get the money to the right places. And you know, we believe everybody deserves an opportunity to own a home.
Absolutely.
And home ownership, from my policing experience, is very important. And to have Councilman Hollins drive that agenda so vigorously. And he worked very hard to create this piece of legislation. We had to bring everybody together, the homeowners, the developers, the civics, to create, and I think it's working very remarkable. And we benchmarked different standards across the country, and it was a great feat. We kept extending it another month, another 2 months, and never thought we'd get it right. And we didn't make everybody happy, but
it was difficult.
I think at the end of the day,
it was a long night that Tuesday night.
You don't hear much about the new piece of legislation, and it's working. And we got a lot of credit to spread around to everybody, but it's the right and fair thing to do for Newcastle County.
Now, just to discuss a little bit more about HOND, what sort of assistance programs do they offer? And are we involved in those assistance programs?
Well, we do fund HUD to allow them to carry out their mission to make certain that there's compliance with fair housing laws.
Sure.
Well, that's important.
Right.
Very much so. It's not something that we do as the government, but there are agencies that we partner with for different types of programs to help us achieve our goals. And HOND is on the fair housing end of that. And I believe they do an outstanding job here. They've been around for a number of years, and we have supported them, I believe, every single year. They are the primary agency that we fund to carry out the fair housing mission. We, as a county government, has partnered with other agencies to make certain that we have partners in the community that can assist, as an example, first-time home buyers.
Sure.
Buying a home is more than just being able to afford the home, but for a first-time home buyer, it could be a daunting experience. And we have actually partnered with Neighborhood House to help first-time home buyers to become familiar with the process of going through the banking process to become first-time home buyers. When we began the first-time home buyer program, it was an experience for us as well as some of our partner agencies. But today, we have assisted more than 600 families in Newcastle County. to
One of
become-
them was me. Actually,
Yeah,
I'm a
I was gonna
first-time
say,
homeowner. I
she
just
and her
bought a house.
fiancé, yeah, they
And
And we
bought a
did.
house.
That's what we did.
Right.
Yeah, and
In
it
addition
was
to
such a
that-
help. Such a huge
Exactly.
help because you're right.
Yeah.
It's scary, but
Yeah.
we bought a house in Newcastle County and we've had it for about 6 months now. And thank God we had the assistance because it was daunting, like you said.
And for so many other families, for more than 600 other families who've gone through a similar experience. And the beauty about that is when you're able to pay back the first-time home buyer funds, we put that in a revolving pool, and we're able to continue to help families. I was able to get Associates National Bank to put up fund for first-time home buyer program. From that fund alone, we have assisted more than 100 families in Newcastle County. We continue to fund other families as those funds are being paid back, so it's perpetual. So in Newcastle County, we have over 700 families who have benefited from the first-time home buyer program in Newcastle County alone. And as those funds come back to Newcastle County, we don't keep those funds. Those funds are then sent out again to other families in similar situations.
So it's essentially revolving. It
It's
goes back
revolving.
into the community.
Yes.
Well, that just goes to show that, HOND, along with Newcastle County government, supports the idea of the American dream of owning a home and the pride, that you take in owning a home. It's very important, I think, in the community.
Well, for middle-income America, homeownership is the primary driver. This is how we get equity. It is the path to gaining wealth. This is how we take the equity in our homes to send our children to school. We take equity from our homes to start businesses. We use the equity in our homes for retirement. So first-time home buyers, homeownership in America has always been the solid backdrop for wealth in America. And in the black community, I may add, 98% of the wealth in the black community is in homeownership, compared to 15% of the wealth in the white community. So when we had the housing downturn in 2008, it essentially devastated a lot of urban America, and you see that today, where there's blocks of blighted homes, there's blocks of homes that
We're
are
still recovering.
Yeah.
and these homes oftentimes have been eaten up by investors. So before you can get to a bank
Right.
to get approval, an investor has come in and paid cash for the home. So that means that you have neighborhood after neighborhood now that are in a deteriorating state because of this whole foreclosure challenge that we've had. And I may add that Newcastle County did a very excellent job through community services with the neighborhood stabilization funds. We were the top agency in the state of Delaware to be able to put those funds on the street to help the vast number of communities through neighborhood stabilization.
Absolutely.
And although it's really hurting a lot of the minority community in the city, Penrose is a person that it doesn't matter what color or race you are. It's about home ownership. And
Right.
Again, I'm lucky to have a council like this where each one of them has a specialty, and few have his experience. So, and you're getting a lot of money from the federal government, and Jane Vincent, people like that are in charge of HUD in Philly. They reward us for doing a good job. And right now, he has all the grants in front of him, trying to decide how we're going to move forward for July. It's very important that we have a very balanced approach, because we get to spend some of that money on other things. And so far, we've always gotten an A. And
Nice.
we need to continue that, because that's a good source of doing good things without using county taxpayers' money totally.
Right.
I wanted to ask you, gentlemen, kind of a personal question. Mel reminded me of my first time buying a home, with my wife 14 years ago. We bought our second house last summer. And I love your story. You were born and raised in the city of Wilmington, and then you moved to Brandywine 100 with your family, and then you decided 30 years ago, I'm going to live in Hockessin. Beautiful. I've seen your home. It's very beautiful. You've seen it, Mel. It's beautiful. And Councilman Hollins, I'm not as familiar with your, home situation, but can you guys talk about your own path, to the American dream, like Mel was talking about?
It's like Penn said, it used to be. Now things have changed a lot since '08. That you move up in equity by valuing your home. But it started to crash. We've got a lot of challenges right now with loss of livable wages in the state, where people can afford.
Yeah.
With what occurred with the housing crash, where the financial institutes took the money and drained the middle class. And we are facing a lot of crises right now, still with foreclosure, and I'd like to say we're not turning backwards. We're holding our own, but we have a lot of work to do to move forward, I think.
Absolutely.
My story was coming from essentially homeless. And the fact that I came to Delaware about a week before I had a job here. I had the job, but I knew no one in Delaware. I was able to come to Delaware because I had gotten a job here. And essentially, I actually lived with someone that knew someone here in Delaware until I was able to get an apartment. And after about a year, close to a year, I was able to buy a home that I'm still living in today. So I've been in the same house since I've been a homeowner here in Delaware. But I came here at that time because I was offered a job here in Delaware.
For DuPont?
Yes.
Let me tell you another story about him. Realizing that DuPont was going to leave, he doesn't cuss like me. He said, daggone. He says, daggone, that's 150,000 people that live there. And we went on immediately to Washington to talk to some people, and he challenged the thing that saved DuPont's. He pushed through council the money needed. And he did that recognizing that you lose DuPont, you're going to lose pensions, you're going to lose benefits. People are relying on that for at least 150,000 people maybe around this area for homes. And we did not want a chance. And I brought him in to meet the governor. The governor and him had a talk, and his credibility with George Smiley and others was able to, without any, imagine if I tried it, without any fighting at all, we did a lot. We did our share to help the governor, who really took the fight on. Now imagine if that had collapsed and we lose pensions and benefits and the people that work for DuPont's now.
It's unmanageable.
We're never going to get ahead. So he quietly did that, but he recognized immediately what that would do to the housing stock.
Right.
And having worked for DuPont's, he never said that. It was a personal thing. It was not a personal thing. And he did all that, very quietly, and didn't get the credit that I think he should get, and the governor should get for that.
Absolutely. And all of the younger, people that had just been employed there goes their opportunity. Why would they stay?
There's such an opportunity now to grow back those two corporations. We now have two. We could grow back with inventions and entrepreneurs in the experimental station. And we can grow back with Chestnut Run and the ability, the hope that we have another day, not to regress. And that was the first call I made was to Penrose to say, we've got a real issue here and we need $8 million.
And ancillary to that, not to get off topic, but you two gentlemen have worked together, speaking of economic development, to bring the Wilmington Stock Exchange to the city of Wilmington. I don't know how much you guys have talked about the Port of Wilmington. That's a big one too. Can you talk a little bit about that?
He's been involved in that since the very beginning, and I'll let him talk. It's very, very near and dear to him, and he understands it. And both of them he understands very well. He was initially involved with the stock exchange because he wanted it in the city, he wanted it near Rodney Square.
It's important.
But what did that mean to you?
The economy is very important to all of us and to all of the people that we represent, and we recognize that. So we have to be more creative today to prepare for a better future going forward.
Indeed.
And if we don't change the way we've been doing things, then we're going to be left behind. It's just that simple. DuPont is just an example of that. The county exec has taken a lead on the development of the Wilmington Port, the expansion of that port, beyond anyone else in government in this state. He has been very wedded to expansion of the port. We have put the county's money forward to do the site investigation of the river's edge. We came forward with that in a very timely fashion. All of the county council members joined on to support that initiative. That was the county exec's idea. The Delaware Board of Trade is an idea, again, that came from the administration. And in record time, I was able to get my colleagues to join on board with me. I think in less than 6 months. It's unprecedented that we would deal with that type of legislation, with that type of speed, without having to table, without having to have additional meetings to get that passed with all of county council members coming on board. I believe these overwhelming majority of county council members were co-sponsors of that legislation. which is housed in downtown Wilmington. And I think what goes unnoticed is a lot of the things that we have done in and for the city of Wilmington, going back to the revenue bonds that we've done to help develop the old courthouse in downtown Wilmington, where we required that you hire city residents and minorities with that $28 million bond issue there, as well as on the Port of Wilmington for Citrus Sucrose. So there's a number of initiatives that we have already been involved with to help the city of Wilmington and to help the surrounding Newcastle County government. I think we see it as a marriage between the two. Wilmington is a part of our county, and we see it as such. I think we've developed a very good relationship there, and we continue to build on that relationship. If you were to look at the county execs, and he won't talk about this, if you were to look at his initiatives for going forward, what he's planning to do, and it's required every year when we go over the budgets for each department. And I found it very interesting that the county executive has on his agenda relationships with the city of Wilmington. I mean, it's one of the top 3 or 4 things that he says that we're going to continue to do. One of the other things that I'm very impressed with is in the top 2 or 3 things that he wants to do is to work for a more diverse workforce. I don't think that you'll find too many executives, county executives or mayors in the state of Delaware who has those items as number 1, 2, 3, or 4 in their agenda for the year going forward. So I want to applaud the county exec for that. It is in writing. I mean, we've all seen it. But I can tell you, if you were to look at the objectives for next year from other executives in this state or in the surrounding area, I don't think you would find those 2 items listed.
We have a good relationship with our governor, and you can't go without saying Kamoko Harris and Bill Ash is 2 leaders that had the vision, and I think we're very close to accomplishing. We have to fight to keep livable wages in Delaware. We've lost too much, and livable wages means you can own a nice house and a car and raise a family. And with this council, we're now taking the fight to the street. Wilmington is very important. It's the corporate capital of the world. So is Middletown and Newark. But without Wilmington, you have no state. And we've got to do better. And this man's been the council person from the city, representing the county, and does both fabulously, along with a lot of his associates.
Absolutely. Well, I wanted to thank both of you for coming in today. And is there anything you'd like to add before we wrap up?
Thank you for giving us the time.
Absolutely. Well, you're welcome back anytime, and congratulations on your award.
Thank you. Thank you, Councilman.
Thanks for letting us put the spotlight on you, Mr. County Executive. And I almost think that you want to share the award with Councilman Hollins.
Right.
I'd like to hear you talk about the Andrew Turner.
Honestly, I don't like to take credit for things I don't do.
Yeah.
If I did anything, I knew to count on him for housing.
Yeah.
You know, and I count on George Smiley for finance. I mean, each one has a strong point. You know, J Street's education, and we have such a talented pool of county council members who have been there for a long time, and they bring such great experience that I don't have the knowledge. I have a hard time running the government, just keeping it all together. And this gentleman needs to be spotlighted because he's fabulously talented.
Yeah, and I would be remiss if I didn't mention Gladys Spikes from HOND, Housing Opportunities of Northern Delaware, wasn't able to make it today. She was planning to, but something came up, and but we just wanted to, say thank you to her. She's been instrumental in setting this up.
Her whole life
Yes.
has been involved in these, and she's another great advisor.
Absolutely. Well, congratulations
Well, thank
on your
you all.
award, and thank you so much
We'll
for
share it with
everything
our
you've done.
council.
Yes, congratulations.
Thank you.
Well, that wraps up this edition of Spotlight. I hope you enjoyed today's show with County Executive Thomas P. Gordon and County Councilman Penrose Hollins. For Tony Prado and all of the NCC TV crew, this is Melody Kitchen. Thank you as always for watching NCC TV. Take care.